Hello everyone and welcome to the 2024 Cascade Challenge presented by Discraft. Excited to be out here in Shelton Springs in Washington playing a Q-Series event. We've got the likes of Adam Hammis along with Scott Withers, Aaron Gossage, and rounding out the card, Ezra Robinson. Been playing great golf lately. And guys, I've got a newbie. A first-timer in the booth with me, that is. Maybe first time ever post-production?
Yeah, first time ever.
One Alden Harris joins me. Alden, looking forward to it again, a Q-Series event. And this course seems like it's instantly become a favorite of so many.
Yes, it's very wooded, pretty short for the most part, which is something we don't get to play often on tour. So I think everyone that comes out here really enjoys it.
I feel like one of the main pieces of feedback last year where people were saying that they love throwing mids in fairways, and you guys kind of miss that. You don't.
Yes,
you're throwing drivers all the time.
I feel like all the woods courses we play now, it's all distance drivers off the tee, so it's a good change of pace.
Well, as I said, Adam Hammis here kicking things off on the feature card. Also, Scott Withers. You come up to the Pacific Northwest to play golf, you usually have to get past Scott Withers in order to pick up a victory. He's a little short on the first throw. Gossage, the third guy on our card here.
So hole one here is, I think it's the shortest hole in the course. It's pretty straight for the most part, and then there's some late trees around circle one's edge, and you kind of have to pick and choose which side you want to go on. And Aaron went on the inside there.
Kind of sneaking through, we see Ezra Robinson, who rounds out our card. Of course, Ezra coming off a big win in Santa Cruz just a couple of weeks ago. And I think I heard him say he kind of likens this course to what you'd find in Georgia.
Yes, someone asked me, I think yesterday, how this compared to Georgia golf, and I said it's pretty much the exact same, but Georgia golf is just like smaller trees. That's pretty much the only difference. Out here in Oregon and Washington, the trees are just so big.
One of the few elevated baskets. There's not a lot of elevation. That's probably the only downside to this course, as Hammis gives it a bid, but they do raise, I think, 3 of the baskets overall, hole 1 being one of them.
I'm excited to watch Scott play. I think I played with him maybe once a couple years ago, but for the most part I haven't seen him play too much, but I know, well, there you go.
That's one way to scramble for the par. Yeah, Scott has a full-time job. He's not like a lot of you guys who are on the tour full-time, and so very regional for the most part, but then gets out to a number of big events, just not week in and week out like you guys. Ezra. Uh-oh. A little uncharacteristic, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, very surprising there. See if Aaron can make it here.
A real gentle breeze. And the only guy on the card to pick up the birdie, which also has to sound a little bit surprising, right?
Yes. Yeah, hole 1 being, I think, the shortest hole. You definitely want to at least have a good birdie chance here.
So Adam will clean up for the par. And it's also not the tightest of the fairways. I mean, there's some very small gaps on this course.
Yeah, usually there's, speaking of small gaps, hole 2, it's not the tightest gap ever, but because it's hole 2, I think it feels really, really tight. It's kind of the first gap you have to hit. It's a pretty routine hyzer if you get out the gap, but you have to get out the gap to get a look. There's also a Mando on the left side.
Gossage with the honors after carding the lone birdie on the card.
It could be flirting with the Mando with that tree kick. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess my graphics is a little, well, it's not quite deceiving, but he actually did go to the correct side of the Mando tree. He went behind it, but then it came back and broke the plane in that sense. And I know that's a really goofy rule for a lot of people to understand, myself included, but he actually did go to the correct side of the tree. And with that, he'll go to the drop zone, which is the white tee that the women played from earlier in the morning.
I know all about going there.
Okay.
It's also, I think, worth noting it's kind of chilly today, and it rained this morning, so it's wet and chilly, which not the most fun to play in.
Yeah, and that won't win you any prizes at a cook-off either, wet and chilly.
Gas hard, apparently.
It's funny. I think if this hole was like, I don't know, hole 9 or 10, I think we'd be seeing pretty much everyone in the field making the gap. But just because it's hole 2, it's kind of tough. There you go.
Ezra not scared of the gap after the other 3 guys missed it. And excuse me, he goes to the red tee. This is the shortest tee. There's 3 tee pads, I believe, out on every hole on this course, which is just so incredible what the club and all the caretakers do out here.
I believe the drop zone there is like around 260 feet, so I don't know if Aaron's going to be super happy with being circle's edge.
The standstill. Opportunity to still save the par. Adam way out of position, closer to hole 1.
Yeah, I think he was like bullseye of hole 1 there.
A little forehand to punch him through, so he'll still have the look to save the par. No, this is Gossage for bogey.
Tough putt to make for bogey.
Looked confident.
Looked very confident.
And we'll see this open space for a number of holes. The wind is typically blowing kind of from left to right as Ezra's looking at the basket here. It blows in that direction consistently. And his first birdie on the scorecard. Enough to think about it. That's to save the par. And the tap in coming from Hammis as he'll ultimately walk away with the par. Now the wind will be at their back as you guys are playing the longest hole on the course, right?
Yes, a par 5. I believe last year it was called a par 4 with a pretty similar basket position, maybe slightly shorter, but they lengthened it slightly, and now there's hazard on the left and OB on the right. So you can make this hole really easy by going big, but it puts the OB and hazard into play. So this is a hole you definitely want to get, but it could also get out of hand. I'm assuming this is what we're going to see from most players, just kind of a hyzer around 400 feet to get in position to go into the mouth.
That's kind of surprising, isn't it?
That is very surprising because it seemed like a very conservative play, but it seemed like he yanked it a little bit left and he's going to be in the hazard.
Yeah, so in the case where there is a hazard, I know I have the OB marker up there, but the hazard, you play from that spot with penalty, and you stay right where you are as opposed to bringing it back where you were last inbounds. And there's a few of those spots on this course.
Mm-hmm.
No problem for Gossage going right up the middle.
Yeah, so the second shot here, the fairway is pretty narrow, so I think most players are just trying to penetrate as far as they can and then just scramble from there.
Yeah, kind of just getting it somewhere into the mouth like we just saw from Scott.
Yes.
Wow, back to back. Well, that one wasn't quite as friendly as Scott's, but at least keeping it somewhat near the fairway. How do you rate that position from where we just saw Ezra land in terms of the tee shot, not the second one, but in terms of the tee shot.
Yeah, it seemed like he got far enough where he was looking straight at the basket, which obviously gives you a pretty big advantage. Oh, a roller here. Never thought of that. Yeah, so wow, that got way down there. Aaron kind of shows what I was saying, how it's not too important to be in the fairway when you get into the woods because you pretty much always have some type of scramble. So he was just going for straight distance there rather than being in position. Great shot from Adam.
Kind of that outstretched, from a knee forehand. And then I do love that they have these markers out here. I believe they have markers at both 100, 200, and 300 feet on some of the longer
I think
holes.
a couple of them 400 as well, so it's a nice touch. I like it.
Long look for eagle. So even after the hazard, Adam, with a couple of really solid shots, able to get up and down and still save a par. Meanwhile, the rest of the group all have birdie looks. Is this one you're counting on? Is this one you're thinking like, hey, I definitely should be putting this birdie on my scorecard?
Yes, you definitely are wanting a birdie here. You're pretty disappointed with the par. But at the same time, with that OB and hazard, Adam could have easily taken a bogey there if he didn't have that really good scramble. So.
And I know you were injured last year, so you weren't on the track, but what do you think score-wise that someone should be expecting when you're having a good day out here?
Yeah, so this is a very, very scoreable course. I think we saw a 14 under from, I think, James Conrad last year. So, he proved that you can shoot very far under par. I would say a good score out here is around 8 to 9 under.
Okay.
Double digits is pretty good.
Hole 4, 330 feet.
Yeah, so Ezra's going with a mid-range with some late turn on it. Another play I'm guessing we'll probably see is a forehand. It shapes up for both of them pretty well. I believe Gavin Babcock actually aced this one last year with a forehand. See if Scott can also put it in. It's looking good.
Yeah, right angle. Just a little better skip, maybe a forward skip, but you're not going to complain with a bullseye hit there.
I feel like this is a hole that Aaron would just never miss.
Puts a bit too much on it, but certainly makeable range. And like you said, forehand friendly for sure.
Another thing I like about this course is you can see Adam going over right there is there's a bunch of bushes in the fairway, which kind of, I don't know, I feel like a lot of courses like test the ceiling, but here it kind of makes you test the floor kind of. I don't know. Kind of unique to this course and a cool touch.
Oh, come on.
One of the luckiest catches I've ever seen.
What? Little low left side corner pocket, but the putter's been looking good. He had the miscue on hole number 1 with the putter, but otherwise it's been looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I feel like at this point too, they're kind of they're like warming up a little bit. The first few holes, like I said, it's kind of chilly out there, so probably be seeing some sweatshirts being taken off here.
And do you have a strong preference of front versus back? I know what you're just talking about for a score, but do you feel like one half plays any easier than the other?
Yeah, I feel like they're both equally as scoreable, but the back has some holes that you can get into trouble pretty easily on. But I think they both can equally be shredded, I guess.
Okay. As we head over to hole number 5.
Yeah, so hole number 5 here I think is a really good representation of what kind of the par 4s look out here. They have a very clean initial gap in fairway, but then the second half seems to be kind of a scramble shot. So I think most players here are just kind of trying to get some distance because it's really hard to land in the same spot twice. There's not really a landing zone. Yeah, we'll see.
That looked like a pretty clean shot. I mean, you're not hitting anything early, so it seems to be off to a good start here.
Most of the par 4s out here, Like this one's 615 feet. They're very short for par 4s, but like I said, the second half is usually the scramble half of the hole.
Yeah, that looked too turned over, pushing off to that left side of the fairway. Clean is good. I feel like you're getting a forward skip and you're not hitting any trees. Yeah, like you said, now it's just a matter of can you scramble. First overhand. I feel like this is a course where you could see a lot of them, whether it's to get out of jail or if it's just kind of a go-to shot trying to get skinny through some of the trees. A little light on the effort, but I feel like that's a play on a lot of the approaches here. Coming in short and then playing the last 20 to 30 feet of skip. Kind of like you're seeing there.
And after a pretty good drive getting clean all the way through the fairway, he's still left with a pretty tricky scramble.
Yeah, that's got to feel like that one got away from him, because when you put that big of a drive out there, you should be getting up and down. Still does have a long look for birdie. The question is, when will we see the Adam Hammis return that we saw out at the W.R. Jackson course when he put in like 6 or 7 from circle 2, as we're watching Gossage bury a deep one?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like every time I play with him, he's still doing it. So
He certainly is, but that particular performance kind of put him, I think, on the world stage in the biggest way. It was just incredible, and he's obviously always been a good long-range putter, but if he gets lights out, things get a little bit scary for everybody else.
don't think we're seeing a bogey on this hole, which is pretty rare. Usually on a cart of 4 people, you see a bogey or 2. Can get tricky quick. On the hole 6, this is one of the trickier ones. It's a pretty tight gap with Amanda on the left side here as we're passing it. The drone here is going on an inside gap that I practiced with Chandler Kramer, and he was throwing that with a forehand, but I don't expect to see that because the backhand works pretty well on this hole. You want to kind of go as far as you can with something overstable and skip way left, almost like a 90-degree turn.
And there's just so much to be said about this course and what you can, if you have a 325-foot controlled shot, I feel like you can absolutely just tear this course apart.
That was a perfect example of what you're looking for on this hole.
Hit something at the end.
Did it hit something on the end, but
yeah, it's called circle 1. I think that's what he hit.
this is also looking maybe slightly too straight, yeah.
So close, man. God.
There's not many holes we play like this on tour. It's such a, I don't know, it's such a unique shape. It's almost like a candy cane.
Yeah, would you say this is kind of like just a longer version of hole 1?
I'd say on hole 1, you can get away with going dead straight. You'll still be in the circle, where here you have to get a skip or hyzer out to even have a chance of birdie. See, even that looks so good, but you have to push it so far before that hyzer.
As I was saying about Scott earlier, I think he actually had to take a PTO, paid day off, paid time off to come out and compete today. little bit of chain, and that's what you were talking about with the bushes. You know, they're cut to just the right height where they're still an obstacle, but you can get around them.
Wait, that doesn't go in. What?
Another easy look for Ezra.
That's a surprising one.
We got Ezra in the house. Ezra, anything you want to chime in from the peanut gallery? All right. Again, the putter has looked pretty good. I mean, obviously sitting 4 down through 6. That should have been, in theory, 5 down. You can't really complain too much about the start, but if you're going to miss one, it's surprising it's going to be one from that close with how things have been going. As we head over to the 7th.
Yeah, so the 7th is a 400-foot par 3, a very tight initial gap, but after that it's wide open, so you just want to hit the gap and try to get the distance right, and usually have a good luck. Also OB on the left, which I haven't seen really come into play, but I'm sure people have found it, like this shot. Oh, never mind.
No, he laces it. The question is it too fast? No.
Perfect shot.
Yeah, exactly where you want to be. Do the white whiskers off to the left. That's the OB you're talking about.
So the gap definitely shapes up more for a turnover initially, like Aaron opted to do there, but it's kind of whatever you feel comfortable in this gap with.
And this is kind of teeing in the similar position to like where a hole 2 tees, where it's, you know, the wind is, as soon as you get out into the open, the wind is going to be blowing it from right to left. Okay.
Oh no, he may have wanted it to hit one of those. Oh yeah. Spoke too soon about the OB on the left.
Yeah, and that, yeah, like you said, finding that little gap, but yeah, this one right off the tee, you basically either know you either got it or you didn't, right? Like
Exactly.
there's no manufacturing of anything. There's nothing special. It's either you get it or you don't. Amos has a chance to save the par.
About the same distance as there was on the last hole.
He stares it in. That one he stares in.
About the same spot, just happened to stay in that time.
Like he was about to give the basket a talking to if it didn't do its job. Clean up for Gossage.
They're still playing.
Ezra with the lone birdie there, getting off to a hot start. 5 down through 7 is pretty good on this course. Hole 8 here. I would say this is by far the easiest hole in the course. This little tree on the right side with a dot, last year that was a Mando, but that is no longer in play. So pretty much you just want to get as far as you can. Eagle's definitely in play here, usually with a roller. Air shots can also get up in there, but pretty much whatever you want to throw off this tee works out because that Mando is no longer in play.
There is a...
Oh my, the world record there, trees hit.
He's going straight right now.
Oh, well, and the goofy thing is, isn't it off to the right, there's like a designated hazard zone.
Yes.
Where it's just like some, I don't want to call it random paint, but...
Yeah, so I guess in replacement for that, oh, this may actually find it.
Wow.
Yeah, I believe that is...
Yeah, you're right. That is just barely inside the hazard.
Yeah, so I think instead of that Mando, because it's kind of hard to tell if you make it or not, they just put hazard there, which is, I think, a pretty cool idea. And I'd like to see more on the Pro Tour. I feel like we don't use hazard at all on the Pro Tour.
Did it? So bad it was okay.
Withers pushed past all of it. Hamas Trying to bounce back after the bogey on the previous. Going roller.
That looks so good. Such a good angle. Wow. Long.
Yeah, that's like 40 long.
I don't think I've ever seen this go long at this basket.
Yeah, and look at that. He is just barely inside the hazard still. So now he's throwing his third, and he'll have that left with a par opportunity. Ezra in the center of the fairway.
So this is where most people are landing, I think. It's kind of the, I don't know, just kind of the standard spot to land there. You just have an easy pitch up for birdie.
And Withers is basically pin high, but way off to the right. Oh no, and gets caught up really early. That's one pitch, and here comes a second pitch out.
Yeah.
So at least 45, maybe 50 past the pin. We're seeing Hammis coming back. And he gets it for the eagle.
Wow. That is cool to see. I wonder how many eagles are on this hole today.
I'll do some fancy research for you, see if I can figure that out. I bet you there were no others that were from 50 deep.
Yeah. Wow, great puff here and there.
Yeah, you're right in that it did play as the easiest hole on the course relative to par. Averaged .45 under par. The next closest hole averaged .24. So it was double the second easiest hole. And ultimately there were two eagles. So shout out to Zachary Nash, who picked one up along with Adam Hammis. But Zach didn't do it on coverage. I don't know if it counts. So we head into the final hole of the front nine.
Hole 9, I would say, is definitely the tightest par 3 we play. It's a tunnel all the way down. I feel like the majority of birdies I've seen on this one haven't even hit the gap. They just kind of throw at the basket and they happen to get through because the gap is very, very hard to hit.
God. So close.
I feel like that's a theme on this course, right? I mean, with all these tight gaps, to say that you're just so close. Ezra, 6 birdies.
He gets very lucky here, as he usually does. No.
Oh, he doesn't like it. Just by watching those first 3 drives, I already know this is a course where you have to be mentally strong, because you could watch yourself just unravel and lose it at shot after shot after shot out here.
Yes, just like I said, it's such a scoreable course. You can put down an amazing score out here, but just as easily you can shoot so far over par, just because if you're an inch off, you can be punished so bad. Forehand here. I don't think I've seen this play.
Trouble off on the left side here. Gossage took plenty of time to ultimately go with this route. And it doesn't pay off.
This is the tricky part about this hole, is if you do hit early, you have a very, very hard scramble, because there's just so many trees. Man.
Really?
That's not one you would have guessed, though. That should have come into play for him. Gossage with his third. As he's lining that up, I got to tell you guys, like, share, subscribe. Alden, where should they follow your action? You've got some stuff going on out
there. You can follow me on Instagram, or you can subscribe to my YouTube, which I guess this is on YouTube, so that may be the easiest way.
We'll put the link in the description or something like that. I think that's what they say out there. We'll put it out there, so make sure you follow along. And wow, how about you tell us what you guys think of this course so far on the front nine? That's what I'd like to hear in the comment section. This is my first time seeing here and being on the property, and I'm loving it, but I'd like to know what you guys think. Ezra, a look from circle 2. So in the front 9, he's drawn metal on every single basket so far. Connecting on 6 of them, but he's drawn metal on every single basket as Gossage has to work that hard for the bogey.
He's had to make a couple hard bogey putts so far.
Yeah, not exactly. I mean, it's nice to make them nonetheless, but it's not exactly a boost of confidence. So with that, we'll take a look at the front 9 scores that we're seeing. Way early in the day, we saw a late addition to the tournament in Niklas Antala. He's been out there doing some work. We invite you guys to join us on the back 9, but that's what we're seeing. The hot on the front 9, Niklas, along with Atticus. Ezra sitting at 6 under, along with a local. So thanks for joining us. Like, share, subscribe. Alden, we'll see you in the back.
Yes, sir. See you there.